Hi, good morning everybody. I'm so glad you're here with us today. It is Writing Wednesday and it's the middle of the week. You've made it halfway there. So today we're going to be talking about our word of the day and our skill this week, which was protagonist and antagonist. So I've got some slides on my computer that I want to show you, so we'll talk about those things and get reacquainted with those topics real quick. So let me flip my phone. All right, so yesterday we talked about what a protagonist was, and it was the leading character or one of the major characters that is the champion for a particular cause or idea. And then we have the antagonist, which is the adversary who actively opposes or is hostile to someone or something. And we talked about how in our book Frindle that we had read that right here, our friend Nicholas, he was the protagonist in that story, and Mrs. Granger was the antagonist. He was trying to get the word pen changed to Frindle, and she was fighting against it, but in the end we found out she was actually a protagonist too, because she wanted Frindle to actually be placed in the dictionary. So I asked you yesterday if you could decide who in our Darth Paper Strikes Back was the protagonist and the antagonist. And our word yesterday was solution, and there's our picture for what solution. Now let's look at what solution actually means as it was used in the story yesterday. I hope you heard that word and how I read it to you several times. A solution is a noun, how it was used in the story, and it means solving a problem or dealing with a difficult situation. So they are looking for a solution in Darth Paper Strikes Back for the problem of Dwight being sent to Kref. And how they are doing that is they are trying to write up these letters and these case files to the school board. And they're trying to get that done so that they can have a solution to their problem. And then here is the answer for protagonist and antagonist for Darth Paper Strikes Back. Let me get this real quick, this will be easier. If you see right here, it says Harvey, Darth Paper, they happen to be the antagonist in the story, okay? So you can say Harvey's the antagonist or Darth Paper. Either works because they are trying to make sure that Origami Yoda is not useful. Now the protagonist right now is Dwight or Origami Yoda, because they try to give kids positive advice and try to help them with their problems. And notice we have a picture of Darth Paper and a picture of Origami Yoda, and in the middle here, Harvey versus Dwight. Now, so if you got that as your answer, that would be correct. Now I have another question for you. What do you think Tommy and his case file would be considered? So Tommy, and he's the case file maker. He's the guy who's making the whole book up. What do you think his character is? Do you think his character is an antagonist or a protagonist? And that's your question for tomorrow. So you can decide what you think his character is. So I want you to write that down. Write down if you think Tommy, the case file maker, is an antagonist or a protagonist. And so, like I said, if you got Darth Paper and Harvey is the antagonist and Origami Yoda and Dwight are the protagonist, then you got that correct. Okay. Now, we don't need that anymore. So let me flip you back around so I can see you. Back. Okay. So I'm going to read your story to you in a minute, but first I want to talk about what your assignment is for today, besides deciding if Tommy is a protagonist or an antagonist. Our assignment for today, since it's Writing Wednesday, we're going to do a writing assignment. We're going to do a descriptive paragraph today. Now, we've done those before, and one of the ones that might help you with this assignment is the leaf pile descriptive paragraph that we did, because today, since it is Easter week, we are going to take an Easter egg. Now, if you don't have an Easter egg, a plastic Easter egg at your house, you can just pretend and you can write this anyway, but I actually have hidden something in my Easter egg. And that is what our descriptive paragraph is going to be today. What have I hidden in my Easter egg? And that's very similar to what have I hidden in my leaf pile. Do you remember when we did that? Okay, so you get an Easter egg and you decide what's something I could put in my Easter egg. And then you're going to write a paragraph describing what that is. So I wrote a little short one. It's not fabulous, but I wrote one. And so this is for you to try and guess what I have hidden in my Easter egg. It says, I have hidden something in my Easter egg. It is small. You can build it. It is a character from the movie Lord of the Rings. It is a boy character. He has hairy feet. He has to wear a ring around his neck. He wears brown pants and a cloak with an elvish leaf as a pin. His best friend is Sam. He is from a race known as the Hobbits. His uncle Bilbo gave him the One Ring and his sword, Sting. Gandalf helps him on his journey to Mount Doom. You can build this character by snapping pieces together that are sometimes called bricks. Can you guess what is in my Easter egg? So you may have to work with your parents. Maybe they've seen the movie Lord of the Rings, or maybe you just know who it is and maybe you know part of it. So that is your assignment. Your title should be, What Have I Hidden in My Easter Egg? And you need to write at least a half a page, and it needs to be a paragraph. Make sure you use a lot of descriptive words. Remember, you cannot say any part of the name of whatever it is that you've put in here. But the point of this is you should be able to guess what it is by the time that this paragraph is over. I want you to know what I've hidden in my Easter egg, and I want to know what you've hidden in your Easter egg just by your writing. So that is our job for today for our writing assignment. Like I said, what have I hidden in my Easter egg? Half a page, use descriptive adjectives, and make sure at the beginning you say, I've hidden something in my Easter egg, and at the end you make sure and you conclude it with, can you guess, or do you know, or some conclusion sentence to finish that. Okay, so now we are ready for our chapter in our book. So let me put my, I'm sorry, this is the hard part right here. It's so much easier to hold it. Oh, there we go. I'm back. Hi. Okay, so we're still reading Darth Paper. Our chapter today, yesterday we read about how the kids were in the library and they got their video games taken away from them, and they were very sad about that. And so one of their teachers, Mr. Snyder, Origami Yoda, actually gave them some advice and said they should ask Mr. Snyder about what kind of games he used to play. And that was really cool because the kids were like, wow, Mr. Snyder said he hadn't thought about that in years. There's no way Dwight or Origami Yoda could have just known that. And so he taught him how to play the pencil war game. And maybe you played that yesterday. And if not, you have a long time all summer you could play if you want to. So the other thing that we talked about was the word solution. And this is one of the sentences that had that. It was actually in here several times, but it says, our guidance counselor is always talking about positive solutions. Well, this is one. So Tommy was saying there that this particular story about Dwight helping them figure out something else to do besides video games was a positive solution to their problem. They didn't have to play video games. They could play paper pencil game and it would still be fun, and that proved that Dwight and Origami Yoda were good to have around. So today's chapter is called Origami Yoda and Exploding Pizza Bagels of Love. And this particular one, ooh, my phone is going crazy, is by Lance. Okay, so here's how his letter starts. Dear School Board, this story is really weird because Origami Yoda gave me the advice last year, but I didn't understand why it was good until this year. See, just before the end of 6th grade, we got to choose which 7th grade elective course we would take this year. I couldn't decide between model rocketry and Lego robots. On one hand, I already have a Lego robot set at home and have done some cool stuff with it, so I thought the class would be fun. On the other hand, I've always wanted to shoot off a model rocket, but my mother said, no way. But I asked her if she would please let me take this class, since Mr. Budinsky would make sure I didn't blow myself up. She said okay, but I still couldn't make up my mind, so I decided to ask Dwight and Origami Yoda. I stopped by the nerd table at lunch. I'm a nerd too, I guess, but I can't stand sitting at their table because one of them gets on my nerves real bad. Hey guys, and Origami Yoda, I said, which do you think I should sign up for? Lego robots or model rocketry? Dwight said I might not be able to get into model rocketry because everybody tries to sign up for model rocketry. Then a second later, he answered himself, but in his really bad Yoda imitation voice. Alphabetically, they will choose, said Origami Yoda. Lance Alexander, pick anything he may. You mean that just because my last name starts with an A, I can choose any class? Awesome, I said. So which should I pick, rockets or Legos? Family and consumer sciences you should pick, said Yoda. What's that? That's like cooking and sewing and how to use coupons, said Kellen. Oh, you mean home ec? Isn't that just for girls? I asked. Excuse me, yelled Rondella from the next table. No, it's not just for girls. It's for anybody who doesn't want to be a clueless idiot when they finish school. And the way she and the other girls glared at me, you could tell they would vote for me as most likely to be a clueless idiot. I don't mind Rondella glaring at me, but it was awful to see Amy glaring at me. I kind of thought Amy liked me. So by now I was pretty confused. The next day in homeroom, when Mr. Howell handed out the forms for us to pick our elective, I just could not decide. I turned around and to ask Dwight if he was sure about home ec. He was already folding his form into Admiral Akbar. Dwight, I whispered, why home ec? He held up Origami Yoda and began, Dwight, shouted Mr. Howell. How many times do I have to tell you to put that puppet away? And what are you doing to your form? Commence attack on the Death Star's main reactor, said Origami Admiral Akbar. Mr. Howell yelled for a little while. Then he sent Dwight to in-school suspension. The rest of you pass your forms up to the front, he snarled at us. I had no more time and no more help from Yoda. But I'm a believer, so I put a check mark next to Family and Consumer Sciences. So that was last year. What happened? Did I actually like Family and Consumer Science better than I would have liked Lego robots or model rockets? Well, hold on and I'll tell you. When I got to class on the first day, there were just 2 guys in it. Me and Tater Tot. We're not that great of friends or anything, but I figured we would sit at a table together and be cooking partners or whatever. Forget it. He never even glanced at me. He sat right next to Sarah, the girl that Tommy likes. But then Amy came in and she saw me and saw that the seat next to me was like open. So she looked at me and we sat down together and we have done every project together since then. And she's never looked at me like I was a clueless idiot again. Except for that time our pizza bagels blew up in the microwave oven because I put them in for 3 minutes instead of 30 seconds. But then she laughed and she helped me clean it up. Harvey's comment. Thank Boba Fett I didn't take that class. If I had to watch Lance and Amy making goo-goo eyes while scraping pizza sauce out of the microwave, I'd barf my brains out. Do you want to know the truth behind this mysterious prediction of Paperwad Yoda? Dwight was afraid he wouldn't get into model rocketry since his last name is Thwarp. So we talked Lance out of it, and probably some other idiots too. And guess what? Dwight got into model rocketry. My comment, Tommy. That is true about Dwight getting into model rocketry, but frankly, I wish Origami Yoda had told me to take home ec so that I would be sitting with Sarah instead of that jerky Tater Tot. How am I supposed to get her to be my girlfriend when I hardly get to see her? And Tater Tot gets to sit around making pizza bagels with her every day. Okay, so that's another story now. It was kind of bad because Dwight did get in trouble, but in the end, he was correct about the assumption that Lance should take home economics because Lance is getting to sit with the girl that he likes. So once again, Origami Yoda's prediction was good. Now, remember what I said, we're going to figure out what we think Tommy's job in the story is. Is he a protagonist or an antagonist? So let's move on to our next thing, which is our egg experiment. So you should have your egg paper out, which is your paper where you're keeping track of what's going on with your experiment. Let me see if I can, my phone keeps sliding, sorry. Let me see if I can. Okay. All right, well, we're on day 3. And let me get my egg here. I'm going to take my phone off of this thing. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. All right, so here is your, let me flip this around. Ooh, there it is today. Look at that. Went down. There it is. Okay. I'll turn it to the side so you can see it in there. Okay, so that's our egg and what it looks like for today. So you need to write down on your journal your observations for today, what you observed in our egg. Now yesterday, I know it was a surprise that my video cut off at the end. The internet kicked me off again. But so I didn't get to do a fact or crud with you. So I'm going to do a fact or crud today. So our question is, the ancient Aztecs brewed cocoa beans to make a hot chocolate drink that they called the blood of the gods. You have to decide if you think that's fact or crud. So one more time, the ancient Aztecs brewed cocoa beans to make a hot chocolate drink that they called the blood of the gods. So you got to decide if that's correct or not. I want to say good job, Casey. Casey did her egg drop experiment yesterday, and I got to watch that, and her egg did not break, so she did excellent. So proud of you. And our first 2 finders yesterday for our big peep were different people. It was Izzy Roberts and it was Carter Bowman in Mrs. Wooten's homeroom. So they found the peep yesterday. Now, if you don't know where it was, I'm going to show you because some people every day said, can't find it. So let me show you where it was. Let me flip. Here's Chewbacca. It was sitting right here. Now, some of you said this was a teddy bear. I know you're surprised that that's Chewbacca, but it was sitting right there next to Chewbacca. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go outside and we're going to find the peep, okay? So let's get ourselves out there. While I'm walking outside, you can be thinking about what are you going to put inside your egg for your writing assignment. You've got to figure out what you want to put in there. And once you figure that out, then you can start writing. Okay, so I'm going to go out here and I'm going to scan this for you. Oh no, I'm going to scan this for you so you can see if you can find it. So let me flip. Okay. That.
I'm glad that.
Okay, so see if you see it anywhere. My dog's out there. You see her jump into the trees. She's jumping really, really high up there in the trees. Oh, there goes my other dog. She's going to check the outside out. Okay, so hope you saw the peep today outside. It was somewhere out there. You may have to stop and look at your video more than once and rewind and see if you can find it. Like I said, our assignments are to figure out where the peep is. And we didn't have a word of the day because I'm skipping a day. Then you need to decide if it was fact or crud, and you need to do your writing assignment about your egg. And I'm super excited to hear all your descriptive paragraphs. They're not due till Friday. So if you get it done, you're more than welcome to read it to me, and I'll take my guess. And if you want me to read it to everybody, I'll read a couple of them on our video on Friday. So I love you. Have a good day. And remember, kindness is a language everyone can hear.